Welcome to EnglishOmy, out of the podcast that helps you speak English naturally, step by step, every day. I'm Omi, your English learning buddy. Let's begin today's journey.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to EnglishOmy, where we make English simple, clear, and achievable for everyone. I'm Omi, your English guide with over 4 decades of teaching experience, and I'm absolutely thrilled you've joined me today for another exciting episode. You know, in my 40-plus years of teaching English to students from all walks of life, I've noticed something fascinating. There are these 3 tiny words, just 3 little words, that seem to trip up even the most dedicated English learners. Students who can handle complex grammar structures, who speak beautifully about their dreams and aspirations, suddenly stumble when they encounter these seemingly innocent prepositions. What are these mysterious words, in, on, and at? That's right, 3 of the most common words in English, yet they cause more confusion than you might imagine. I've seen brilliant students pause mid-sentence, unsure whether to say, "I'll see you on Monday," or "at Monday." I've watched confident speakers second-guess themselves about whether something happens in the morning or at the morning. But here's the wonderful news, and this is why I'm so excited about today's lesson. By the end of our time together, you'll never confuse these prepositions again. I'm going to share with you a simple, visual trick that I've perfected over decades of teaching. It's a method that has helped thousands of my students master these prepositions once and for all. Are you ready to unlock this secret? Let's dive in together. Now, before we jump into the solution, let me paint a picture that might sound familiar. Have you ever found yourself standing there, knowing exactly what you want to say, but then getting stuck on whether to use in, on, or at? Maybe you're telling someone about your vacation plans, and you pause, thinking, should I say in July or on July? Or perhaps you're giving directions to your home and you hesitate, meet me at the park or in the park. This confusion is completely natural, and you're certainly not alone in experiencing it. These prepositions seem simple on the surface. After all, they're just 2 or 3 letters long, but they carry so much meaning, and they change depending on whether we're talking about time or place. What makes them even trickier is that different languages handle these concepts in completely different ways. The frustrating part is that when you use the wrong preposition, people usually still understand what you mean. But as someone who's dedicated to helping you speak English with confidence and precision, I want you to feel absolutely certain when you choose these words. That's where my special method comes in, and trust me, it's going to change everything for you. Here's the breakthrough moment that transformed my teaching forever. Picture this. I was working with a group of international students who were particularly struggling with prepositions. Traditional explanations weren't clicking, and I could see their frustration growing. Then, during one of those wonderful aha moments that make teaching so rewarding, I grabbed a marker and drew a simple pyramid on the whiteboard. Let me help you visualize this pyramid right now. Imagine a triangle, wide at the bottom, narrow at the top. This isn't just any pyramid. This is your key to mastering prepositions forever. At the wide base of our pyramid, we place in. This represents the most general, least specific way we talk about time and place. Moving up to the middle section, we find on, more specific than in, but not as precise as what comes next. Finally, at the narrow peak of our pyramid sits at, the most specific, most exact way we can describe when and where something happens. This pyramid concept works like magic because it mirrors how our minds naturally organize information, from general to specific, from broad to precise. When you're unsure which preposition to use, simply ask yourself, am I being very general, somewhat specific, or extremely precise? Your pyramid will guide you to the right choice every single time. The beauty of this method is its universality. Whether you're talking about time or place, the pyramid principle remains constant, giving you a reliable framework you can trust. Let's start our journey at the base of the pyramid with in, our most general time preposition. When we use in for time, we're talking about longer periods, broader time frames, and less precise moments. Think of in as your go-to choice when you're painting with a wide brush rather than fine details. We use in for months. I was born in September. We're planning a vacation in December. The flowers bloom beautifully in May. Notice how these are substantial chunks of time, entire months containing many days and weeks. We also use in for years. She graduated in 2019. The company was founded in 1995. I learned to drive in 2010. Years represent even longer periods, making them perfect candidates for our general in. Seasons naturally fit here, too. I love the colors in autumn. We always travel in summer. The weather is unpredictable in spring. Each season spans 3 full months, reinforcing that broad, general quality we associate with in. Parts of the day also use in. I'm most productive in the morning. The office gets quiet in the afternoon. We usually have dinner in the evening. These represent substantial portions of our day rather than exact moments. Let me give you a practice opportunity. Repeat after me. I always feel energized in winter. Perfect. Try another. The store opens early in March. Excellent work. Here's your mental checklist for in with time, months, years, seasons, and parts of the day. When your time frame is broad and general, in is your friend. Remember, we're at the wide base of our pyramid, covering lots of ground with one simple word. Now let's climb to the middle of our pyramid, where on lives. Here, we're becoming more specific about time, focusing on particular days rather than broad periods. On is your choice when you're targeting specific dates, days of the week, and special occasions. For days of the week, on is always your answer. I have my piano lesson on Tuesday. We're meeting on Friday. The store is closed on Sunday. Each day is a specific 24-hour period, more precise than a month, but less exact than a specific time. Specific dates also take on. Her wedding is on March 15th. The conference starts on June 8th. I was born on December 3rd. When you include the actual date, you're pinpointing one specific day out of 365 possibilities. Special days and holidays use on as well. We exchange gifts on Christmas Day. The celebration happens on New Year's Eve. I always call my mother on Mother's Day. Even though these holidays happen annually, when we reference the specific day itself, we use on. Let's practice together. Say with me, the meeting is scheduled on Thursday. Wonderful. Now try. We're having a party on October 31st. Perfect. Here's an interesting observation from my years of teaching. Students often want to use in for days because days feel like containers of time. But remember, our pyramid, on, is more specific than in. We're not talking about everything that might happen during a month. We're talking about what happens during one particular day. Your on checklist, days of the week, specific dates, and special occasions. You're becoming more precise, moving up our pyramid with confidence. Welcome to the peak of our pyramid, the precise, exact world of at. When you use at for time, you're being as specific as possible, pointing to exact moments that could be marked on a clock face. This is where precision meets communication. Clock times are the classic example. Let's meet at 3:30. The movie starts at 7 to wow. I wake up at 6:15 every morning. These are exact moments, not ranges of time, not approximate periods, but specific points that everyone can identify precisely. We also use at for well-known time points. The office closes at noon. Midnight strikes at exactly 12 bow. We have lunch at lunchtime. Even though noon and midnight might seem general, they represent exact moments that everyone understands. Some expressions naturally use at. The sun rises at sunrise. Everything changes at the moment of impact. Peace comes at bedtime. These might seem less specific than clock times, but they refer to precise moments when something begins or changes. Let's practice this precision together. Repeat. The train arrives at 5:10. Excellent. Now say, school begins at 8 in the morning. Perfect. Here's what I love about teaching at. It removes all ambiguity. When someone says, meet me at 4, there's no confusion, no wondering about early or late in the hour. You're communicating with crystal clarity. Your at checklist for time, clock times, noon, midnight, and specific moments. At the top of our pyramid, you're communicating with the precision of a Swiss watch. This exactness is what makes at so powerful and reliable. Let's take a moment to solidify what we've learned about time prepositions using our pyramid method. This quick review will help cement these concepts in your memory. At the wide base of our pyramid, in handles the big picture. Months like in January, years like in 2023, seasons like in winter, and parts of the day like in the morning. Think broad, think general, think in. Moving up to the middle, on targets specific days, on Monday, on July 4th, on Christmas Day, on my birthday. You're being more specific than with in, but not as exact as with at. At the sharp peak, at pinpoints exact moments. At 3 saum, at noon, at midnight, at sunrise. Maximum precision, maximum clarity. Here's a quick test. I was born Besach May, specifically, Dasa May 15th, to 3:30 in the morning. Did you think in May on May 15th at 3:30? Perfect. You're already thinking like the pyramid. This progression from general to specific is natural and logical. Once you internalize this pyramid thinking, choosing the right preposition becomes automatic. You're not memorizing random rules. You're following a logical system that makes perfect sense. Now let's apply our pyramid magic to places, and you'll discover that the same logical progression works beautifully. Starting at our pyramid's base, in for places means inside something or within large general areas. Think of in as describing being surrounded by or contained within boundaries. For large geographical areas, in is always your choice. She lives in Tokyo. We're vacationing in Italy. The conference is in California. These are substantial places, cities, countries, states, where you're talking about being within their borders rather than at a specific point. In also means literally inside something. The cookies are in the jar. He's sitting in the car. My keys are in my pocket. You're describing something enclosed, surrounded, or contained within something else. rooms, and buildings use in because they're enclosed spaces. We're meeting in the conference room. She's working in the office. The children are playing in the garden. Even though a garden is outdoors, it's still a defined area with boundaries. Bodies of water take in. They're swimming in the lake. The boat is in the harbor. We saw dolphins in the ocean. You're describing being within or surrounded by the water. Let's practice together. He is studying in the library. Perfect. Now try. There are beautiful flowers in the park. Excellent. Here's a helpful visualization. If you can imagine being surrounded by something or having it contain you, use in. Whether it's the physical walls of a room, the borders of a country, or the contents of a container. In describes that relationship of being within or inside. Your in checklist for places, countries, cities, rooms, buildings, containers, and enclosed areas. Climbing to the middle of our pyramid, on for places, is beautifully straightforward. It's all about surfaces and contact. When something is touching the top of something else, or when you're traveling via a method of transportation, on is your reliable choice. The most obvious use is for things resting on surfaces. The book is on the table. Your coffee cup is on the counter. The picture hangs on the wall. If something is touching the surface of something else, with contact between them, use on. Transportation methods take on when you're a passenger. We traveled on the bus. She's on the train to work. They met on the airplane. You're physically on the vehicle, in contact with it as it moves. Streets and roads use on. The cafe is on Main Street. We live on Maple Avenue. There's construction on the highway. You're describing location in relation to the surface of the road. Floors of buildings also take on. My office is on the 3rd floor. The restaurant is on the ground floor. We live on the top floor. Practice with me. The keys are on the kitchen table. Great. Now, we're traveling on flight 205. Perfect. Think of on as describing contact or proximity to a surface. If you can visualize something resting on top of, touching, or traveling along a surface, on is your answer. This surface connection makes on logical and memorable. At the peak of our pyramid sits at, your precision tool for exact locations. Unlike in, which suggests being inside, or on, which implies surface contact, at simply indicates presence at a specific point or place. At is perfect for specific addresses and locations. We're meeting at the cafe. She's waiting at the bus stop. The accident happened at the intersection. You're not describing being inside these places or on top of them, just being there at that specific location. Buildings where you have business or appointments take at. I have an appointment at the doctor's office. We're dining at the new restaurant. The kids are at school. You're identifying the specific place where something is happening. Events and gatherings often use at. We met at the conference. See you at the party. I'll find you at the concert. These are specific occasions happening at particular locations. Transportation stops and stations use at. Pick me up at the airport. We'll meet at the train station. The taxi is waiting at the hotel entrance. Let's practice. I'll see you at the library entrance. Excellent. We're having lunch at that Italian restaurant. Perfect. At is about pinpointing location with GPS-like precision. You're not describing relationships with boundaries or surfaces, just identifying exactly where something is or will be. It's specific, clear, and unambiguous. Now, my dear English learners, let me share something important from my decades of teaching experience. English, like any living language, has some delightful quirks that don't always follow our pyramid rules. These exceptions might seem frustrating at first, but I want you to think of them as the special spices that make English flavorful and unique. First, let's talk about nighttime. Even though we say in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening, we say at night. It's simply at night, not in night. For example, the city looks magical at night. I work better at night. The stars shine brightest at night. This is just one of those beautiful inconsistencies you'll need to memorize, and I promise it will become natural with practice. Here's a fascinating distinction that even advanced speakers sometimes miss. At school versus in school. They're both correct, but they mean different things. At school simply means you're physically located at the school building. Perhaps you're visiting, working there, or attending an event. In school means you're enrolled as a student, actively receiving education. So, my daughter is at school right now tells us her location, while my daughter is in school tells us she's a student. For anything technology related, we use on. I heard it on the radio. We spoke on the phone. I found the information on the internet. It's on television tonight. This pattern emerged as these technologies became part of our daily lives, and it's remained consistent. These exceptions aren't meant to confuse you. They're just part of English's rich tapestry. Focus on mastering the pyramid principle first. Then gradually incorporate these special cases. With time and practice, they'll feel as natural as the rules themselves. What an incredible journey we've taken together today on EnglishOmy. We've climbed our preposition pyramid from the general base of in, through the specific middle of on, right to the precise peak of at. You now have a powerful visual system that will serve you for the rest of your English-speaking life. Let me leave you with this thought. Mastering prepositions isn't just about following rules. It's about communicating with confidence and precision. When you say, "Let's meet at 3 on Tuesday in the cafe," every English speaker knows exactly what you mean. That's the power of using prepositions correctly. I want you to practice this pyramid method every day. Start noticing prepositions in the English you hear and read. Ask yourself, is this general, specific, or exact? Your pyramid will guide you to the right answer. Remember, I'm Omi, and I've been privileged to guide thousands of students just like you toward English fluency over my 4 decades of teaching. This pyramid method has transformed how my students approach prepositions, and I know it will do the same for you. If this lesson has helped you, please share EnglishOmy with your friends who are learning English. Subscribe to our podcast for more game-changing lessons, and don't forget to practice what we've learned today. Keep believing in yourself. Keep practicing with purpose, and keep climbing toward English excellence. I'm Omi, and I'll see you next time on EnglishOmy, where we make English simple, clear, and achievable. Until then, happy learning.
Thanks for spending time with me on EnglishOmy today. Remember, small steps every day lead to big progress. If you like this episode, follow the podcast and share it with a friend.